with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, because it looked like, if you watched this game, it looked like Tua went down and potentially had a concussion when he hit his head on the turf, and then it comes out afterwards, and there was a lot of reporting as to whether it was a concussion, whether it wasn't, if it was, about something else. So what do we know about Tua?
Yeah, I think it's important to go through the steps here just so that people hear sort of, the process, right? Because you have the things you can view on TV, and we saw Tua hit his head on the turf. And then subsequently, as he was walking, he appeared to stumble, lose his balance, went to the ground. You saw the medical staff come and take him off the field. They took him directly to the locker room for a full evaluation. Notice didn't stop in the blue tent, went back to the locker room. And the people who accompanied him were the team physician, one of the athletic training staff, and then the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant who is there, who is not affiliated with the team and is there specifically to help evaluate those type of injuries. In that time, and especially going into halftime, they took all this time to go through the complete neurological testing that is part of the concussion evaluation process. They are also talking to the player, and the player at that time told them that he had hurt his back and his ankle when he got twisted up on a play near the goal line. They determined that his stumbling was not neurologically induced. There is a specific line in the concussion protocol that talks about gross motor instability, and if it is neurologically induced, the player's to be removed. They believe that it wasn't. He was allowed to return to the game. And then yesterday, Mike McDaniel said that he would not have practiced if they had had a real practice. They have a Thursday night game, so it was more of a walkthrough because of back and ankle soreness, and he is currently not in the concussion protocol. The other piece to this is that the NFLPA requested a review of what happened after Tua was injured. This is not completely abnormal. All these things are documented and they are in place for the purpose of a review. And the NFLPA and the NFL will look jointly. They will talk to every member of the medical staff, the players, coaches, referee, all personnel involved to determine whether all the correct steps were followed. So that's sort of the sum total of where we are. I think with a short turnaround, this is actually tough because Tua's back is pretty sore and also dealing with an ankle issue. I think the expectation he's going to try and play Thursday night, but it's not a lock just yet.
I think that Thursday night turnaround is going to be the tough part, because if you wanted to trust Tua, if you picked up Tua in part like because you were a Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady manager, and you were thinking, hey, these two teams have the two top 5 in pass attempts, for opposing teams. This could be a shootout. This could be a game with these wide receivers. But knowing it's Thursday, knowing that he's feeling that way, I feel a little bit more trepidation than I would have otherwise. So something to monitor. We'll see what happens.
And also probably what it means for both Tyreek Hill and also Jalen Waddle. Teddy Bridgewater, solid, serviceable backup quarterback.
Not the same.
Not the same as Tua, who deserves some praise for the way that he has played through the first 3 weeks of the season. Of course, Teddy is fine. Yeah. Not like I'm going to bench those players, but if you get a 12-point effort from one and a 15 from the other, as opposed to a 22 and a 25, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yep. All right. Another quarterback that we saw go down was Mac Jones. Stefania, what's the latest on him?
Obviously in a lot of pain, dealing with a high ankle sprain that's been reported to be severe. And the question right now is whether he's going to undergo surgery or not for this injury. And the only thing I would caution people is that the surgery, if it's done to repair the ligaments for a high ankle sprain, is not done to speed up the recovery. I think that's been floated out there. It is not. It is a question whether the ankle is unstable and requires surgery or not. So we will await that. But Mac Jones is likely to be out. I would expect 4 to 6 weeks, regardless of the approach. So I just want people to plan on that for the impact that it has on everybody else in the Patriots offense who depends on Mac Jones.
Yeah, we're talking about both of the running backs, especially, pass catching back Ramondre Stevenson and the pass catchers, because Jacoby Myers has been a guy that if you've needed someone that is consistent, you would be able to count on Jacoby Myers so far this year.
Yeah, he's the only one that you can consider a weekly consideration, and he obviously was out in week 3. I think the saving grace here is that Jacoby Myers was not a vertical threat. He's not the kind of guy that does a lot of his damage way down the field. He is a guy that operates a lot out of the slot, so the types of throws that you're making to Jacoby Myers are not nearly as high octane as they would be if you're throwing the ball down the field to Cortland Sutton or Tyreek Hill or something to that effect. Second thing that should not be unnoticed is that Brian Hoyer, who's going to step in for Mac Jones for some number of games, what's his real name? Do you know the answer to this?
No. I love that is the question. That's how it's going to be.
I was not prepared for that to be the question.
Do you know the answer to this? Because it might change your perception of him as a player.
Tell
His
me.
real name is Axel.
Stop it.
And he
No
chose
way.
Brian. Like
His real name is Axel.
His real
Is
name
it
is
Axel Bryan? Or like he
No,
just
so
calls
one of the
himself
Patriots
Bryan?
players, Matthew Slater, was doing an interview yesterday and was talking about contingency plans. And he was like, yeah, I've got a lot of confidence in Axel. And everybody was like,
Who's Axel?
did the Patriots sign someone we don't know about named Axel? And it turns out Brian Hoyer's real name is Axel, which, I mean, as far as like
How do you get to
ferocity
Brian
goes,
from
I
Axel?
know. I'm like, dude, you had it right
It's not
there.
even
You had
close.
Axel waiting for you your whole life,
That is
right?
a football
Like,
name.
That is like, I don't know if that, I can't think of a reason why you'd pick Brian over Axel.
I want his middle name to be
But
Rose,
I will,
but-
you know how we now, when like obviously Darius Leonard has said he wants to go by Shaquille now, right?
Yes.
I am hoping and preparing for the possibility of Axel Hoyer saying he wants to go by Axel. And as far as people are concerned in this podcast, I'll only call him Axel.
Axel. Yeah.
Unless he like sends me a note that's saying like, I don't go by Axel at all. If
Well,
Matthew Slater's
his
calling him
teammates
Axel,
call- I
then I'm
know.
calling him Axel as well.
I just want to know because obviously
Yeah,
his
his
parents,
parents,
like,
right,
did they originate the ayahuasca camp that Aaron Rodgers went to? Like, where did he get the name Axel? As far as like, I think
I'm
that's,
not one to be able to talk about names. My name is Field. It's super weird, but I will say,
totally
like, it gives me like 5% more confidence in Axel because his name is Axel.
Yeah.
Only 5%,
but still,
yeah.
it feels a little cooler when you're like, I'm gonna roll out there with Axel as my QB this week. No big deal. All right, Stefania, let's talk about David Montgomery.
His dad's name is Axel too. He's just
Stop
texted
it!
us.
No way. Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Do we know, like, was his dad like an
Maybe he
undefeated
didn't want to
all-state
be
wrestler or something?
Axel Jr. Because that's weird.
Yeah,
Axel
maybe.
Jr. doesn't have the same like
Axel Hoyer Jr.
I'm starting to
It's a
think
lot
that
to
Axel
live up to. Anyway,
Wow.
too. If his dad
Wow.
was like some stud athlete,
All right.
Axel,
Yeah, I would have.
maybe-
By the way, I think one last thing to be serious here is, part of me says like, oh, backup quarterback, you run the football a bunch more. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you can do that because the way the Patriots have been playing offense this year has been like a decent amount of shotgun and like get the ball out quick. Maybe a slight uptick for Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, but they go to Green Bay this week. They play, I believe, Detroit the week after that. Like, those are two good offenses. Right. Packers are certainly work in progress, but Detroit, a good offense. Like, you can run the ball if you're staying close, but I think that's a little bit of an estimate, a forecast, if you will, that they're going to stay close in those games. You might have to throw the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hoyer has a 28 or 30 attempt game on Sunday against the Packers.
Because of that. Yeah.
Axel.
All right. Stefania, David Montgomery unfortunately went down early in the Bears game. The Bears take on the New York Giants this week, which actually could be not a bad matchup. What should fantasy managers prepare for with David Montgomery?
Well, he's not dealing with one injury. He's dealing with two. And just the mechanism where you saw it was a little bit of friendly fire kind of got backed up and his leg rolled up on that mechanism. We see that happen where you end up with a knee and ankle injury from exactly that kind of force. Now, it can either be really bad, and usually if it's really bad for either the knee or the ankle, or it's mild for both. And that's what the Bears are reporting, that they're